To the creative development module. In the fundamentals module, we've seen how to use Webflow's interaction, the native Webflow engine for creating interactions and animations. And in this module, we're going to take things a bit further by showing you how to create this engine to create some really creative and very cool effects. But beyond Webflow's native animation engine, we're also going to use other animation types. And in this video, I want to give you an overview of everything that we'll be using in this module and also some things that we're not going to cover here, but you may want to be familiar with just so that you know what's possible. So the first thing I want to cover is an animation type that is called Lottie. And Lottie originally was a way to export animations from After Effects, which is an animation software, in a vector format for the web or using an application. And you can see examples of this here. So these are very kind of like small vector animations. And the beautiful thing about this is that these file formats are very, very light, meaning they're loading very, very fast. And also they are natively supported by Webflow, which means that you can use Webflow's native animation engine that we saw to play these animations. So for example, we've got this text that is being written here. We can create an animation that only as we're scrolling, this animation is being played, and as we're scrolling up, it's placed backward. So we can basically control the animation file using Webflow's interface, which is going to be really, really cool and powerful. So we will be using Lottie files. The other tool that we'll be using is called Spline. Now, Spline is a way to create 3D for the web and make it interactive. And you can see that I can play around with this model here. So this is a really easy way to embed 3D into your website. And just like Lottie, this is also natively supported by Webflow, which means that we'll be able to control the 3D environment through Webflow's interface. So this is going to be super, super cool. A new product from Spline is called Hana. And this is basically a way to create also vector animation that has all kinds of states, and they can basically respond to your cursor, follow things around, and have all kinds of states. So this is also, besides the 3D platform, now also a possibility to create very powerful 2D interactions and animations. So this is Spline, which we will be playing with. The third engine that I want to talk about is called GSAP, and you might have heard this term before as we were using it in Webflow, and that is because GSAP is a code library that was purchased by Webflow a while ago, and now they're working to implement and making it native within Webflow. Now, GSAP is very, very powerful. It can create a lot of fancy text animation, scroll animation, a lot of very, very cool things, and most likely, so many of the award-winning websites that you've been seeing are using this code library. Now, as I've mentioned, it's very, very powerful, and Webflow are implementing to making the use of this engine native within Webflow. Not everything is possible within the native interface yet. So for some things, they still require custom code, but you can get a lot of things done within the Webflow advanced GSAP interaction. We'll dive into some of those later in this chapter as well. Now, the next thing that I want to show you, and we're not going to use this in this course, but you can definitely go around and play with this, is a tool called Unicorn Studio. And this is basically a way to embed a technology that is called WebGL in a no-code interface. So this is, again, a tool, a no-code tool that allows you to create these very cool effects and then embed them in your Webflow website. This is a tool, you have to pay for it, but it's, yeah, it can do really, really cool things. And I'll put the link below this if you want to experiment this for future websites. Another technology which is supported in Webflow, but we're not going to use in this module, is called Rive. Rive is basically a combination between Lottie animation, but also that includes interactivity, kind of like Hana from Spline, which we touched upon. Now, this is very, very cool. It's not super useful when it comes down to web design. It's mostly more useful when it comes to apps and maybe game design, as you can see from these examples here. But again, this is fully supported within Webflow, so you can bring in Rive files and then control them through Webflow's animation UI. And lastly, I just want to cover this technology, which is called Three.js. It's basically a JavaScript framework for handling 3D. Actually, Spline is using this technology, under the hood, but this is if you want to have access to all of the possibilities within 3D, and this is a little bit more advanced and requires coding, then the technology that you will be using is Three.js. Now, I also want you to be aware of this because right now, with the advance of AI, we can use a lot of AI to write some code for us. So it is important for you to know the names even of these frameworks so that you can ask, hey, create a Three.js scene for me that includes this, or perhaps write a GSAP animation that animates a text in a certain way. So we'll be seeing how to use these things and how to use AI to write some code for us. Very excited for this module. I'll see you in the next video.